Hey everybody, it's Will. I'm back with another edition of Creators Outlet here on the Outright Geekery Podcast Network. Before we get into it with Mr. Cannon, we're going to talk a little bit about our sponsor, SpinWiz Comics at spinwizcomics.com. It is a webcomic and indie comic discovery platform where you can read lots and lots of free comics. It is a free downloadable app both on iOS and Android. What are you waiting for? Get it today. Check it out. We're trying to get them up to 100 downloads and 100 5-star reviews before the end of the month. And here's a little bit of what it looks like. And now back to our program. So, Mr. Cannon, you have You have a wonderful graphic novel that is featured in Previews World.
That's correct. I'm glad you think it's wonderful. It's called Freak Snow, Washed in the Blood, and it's the premiere release for our Freak Snow franchise, which is hopefully going to be pretty kick-ass.
Are you planning on everything in graphic novel, a.k.a. trade format?
Well, we're talking about also doing a series that we're launching at the beginning of next year. Okay. So that'll be exciting. I'm not totally sure how much I can talk about that right now, but I have been sharing artwork and that kind of thing and showing people a few things here and there. So it's been floating around a little bit and people are liking it. So we feel good.
Okay, well, we'll pry that out of you a little later on. So how long have you been doing this work in this particular medium?
Oh, man. So I've been working on comic books for a little over 10 years. Only kind of getting professional with it in the past few. And it's just due to blunt force trying over and over and over again. And by happenstance, I just met the right people. And here we are today with this book that we've got in the previews, which is very exciting. It's my first book in the previews and Kevin's too. So it's a pretty big deal.
Well, they've got plenty of room now that DC has moved out.
Oh my God. We thought that was going to be actually like a helpful thing for indies, but the stores are having to raise prices to compete with DC, or not to compete with them, but to be able to afford the stuff that DC is putting out. So it's crazy.
Cost, yeah. I've seen because there's so many stores that just they're like all over Facebook doing live sales and stuff. And unless they're ordering enough to get like a bigger discount, they come along to the DC books, and the DC books are a buck or two above cover for to buy the books off them, because they gotta cover the double and sometimes triple cost of shipping from a new distributor, and it depends on the distributor. I know, and I can't remember the name right now. The guys over at Comic Online use them, and they switched from a distributor that they hated because the first week of DC being with somebody else, they got stuff in, and it looked like it was mugged in an alley before they put it in the box. They sent it all back and goes, "These are all damaged." Well, we're all sold out. We don't have any more. Well, that's okay. We just want our money back.
Yeah, really. That's terrible.
And they went to another distributor who are looking to massively expand right now, because it's not just them. There's small imprint publishers like you guys. And then, you're looking at other things like Vault Comics, and all the, Boom, Dark Horse, and all these other, companies, and some of the smaller companies that are coming in now, like, AWA and stuff like that. It's a chance for them to grab their contract and be like, well, you can deal with Diamond if you want, but if you don't want to, we'd be more than happy to earn your business. And I was told it was the best packing job and on-time delivery that they had received in quite some time when they got it, and they were like thrilled with it. It was like
That's great.
They described it as it was packed like somebody was shipping us nitroglycerin.
Perfect.
So that's a beautiful thing.
That's a great opportunity for the smaller companies to kind of prove themselves. So that's always a great thing.
Oh yeah, and we're a huge fan of Scout Comics. They're doing some great stuff, and basically every publisher that has had a name going into this year are all being signed for movie deals. So apparently we went from it'd be cool to have some comic book movies and TV shows to
that's all they make now.
To man, can we see something besides comic book movies and TV shows?
Yeah, let's go back to spaghetti westerns or something. We're all sick of it.
I got rid of all my streaming services, and I got a couple of Roku TVs. So I just put the free apps on, and I just watch Pluto TV, Tubi. I've got Vudu because I've got like a bunch of movies that I bought digitally, and you can watch free stuff off of them. And it's like I was watching John Wayne movies this afternoon, reading comic books. So I'm like,
there you go. That's the dream.
So it's
cool.
it's not a bad way to go. It's free. I like free.
Hey, free's always good.
So tell us about your journey into comics. Like, were you reading them when you were a kid, or?
Not at all. I read a few comic books when I was a kid, and there are a few that caught my interest, but I never really got into it because I've always had the problem with especially superhero comic books and those big serials where you can't just jump in at number 48 or whatever and kind of like tag along and get invested. Plus, I read that stuff and it just wasn't grabbing me. I was always into, I don't know, like movie type things. I always wanted to make movies when I was a kid. That's what I tried to do. And comic books, at least the floppies that you get that aren't, expensive graphic novels that my parents didn't want to pay for, were more like TV shows, and which is something I didn't have as much interest in. So I went into it seeing comic books as being, or graphic novels as I was totally committed to calling them at the time. Now I don't care. As being a way to follow that dream of like making movies and stuff without having to invest millions of dollars or have to get a grant or whatever, because I realized that I was not, didn't have a natural talent with managing people, which is something you need if you're going to make movies. But making comic books, graphic novels, that kind of stuff was a type of complex storytelling I could do by myself or with a very small team. And so that's kind of how I drifted towards it. And I just started making projects, and over the years, I've just begun to enjoy the process, and now we're making big boy books, so it's cool. And that is pretty much how I got here. And
comics are the easiest way to learn how to lay out pages for a storyboard.
I mean, it's not the exact same as storyboarding because in a comic book you need to be creative, or you don't have to be. You can do whatever you want, but you have the option to be creative with your panel sizes. If you're storyboarding for a film, everything is the dimension of the frame over and over and over again, which is sometimes a cool way to do a comic book. You can make it feel like a movie that way, or it's a really good way to show consistent action if you want the focus to be like what the characters are doing. An example I always love to cite with this is in Frank Miller's Dark Knight, when when Bruce Wayne's parents die. There's like this, I think it's like 16 or 20 panel, just square. But it's like all happening in slow motion. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the things I liked about the Zack Snyder Batman thing, is that he pretty much like redid that shot for shot, and it looked pretty cool. So, that's the kind of thing. It's just one of the cool things you can do with comics. It's such a versatile medium that you can kind of tell your visual story however you want to. And most importantly, there's no one telling you can't do it that way, unless you're working under a studio.
Yeah. It's so hard to break into even like the mid-range, they're still mainstream, even though we call, Marvel and DC the main two, because they've been around, so long.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been watching all the videos that Ross Ritchie from Boom has been dropping.
Mm.
And I understand everything he's saying, but also in the back of my head, I'm hearing Homer Simpson, "Can't win, don't try." And I'm like, okay, Ross, let me know if I can get you on the show so you can clarify some of this stuff for, some of our indie groups out there to, give them a little schooling.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to there, but it sounds like he's trying to like compete with DC and Marvel, or what's the?
No, a lot of it is legal things. Like everybody, like there's so many people, so many creators out there that year after year they're sending unsolicited art or pitches to Boom, Dark Horse, Dynamite, whoever.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're unsolicited, they can't even look at them, because if they open up and look at it and then they do anything similar down the road, it just opens them up to a lawsuit.
I see.
And one of the videos that he was showing, he showed, the whole thing it's beautifully done. It had like this nice, he sent like this guy sent like this nice, pleathered, fold over binder with, gold leaf all over it. And it was like filled with art, but he couldn't open up to look at it because lawsuit. The script was like binded and like, pro Hollywood, all sealed in like, a hard plastic shell. And, there was a bunch of other stuff with it. And he goes, "Yeah, I can't look at this. Just so you know, this is what I have to do with all of them." He goes, "But, I want to lessen my carbon footprint, so I'm putting this in the recycle bin." And he opens up the lid and just dumps it in. And I'm like, well, somewhere there's a creator that just like broke down into tears, and
that's very sad. It's just like that's not common knowledge. I guess a lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that, but I've never submitted to like a big company like that before. So I've always just tried to go my own way.
Well, yeah. Well, the indie industry is huge and getting bigger. So
yeah, people like what independent creators do, because I don't know. It's not so bad with comic books just because it's not as big as an industry. It's not as corporate just because of the sheer like size of it. But the movie industry has always been like that. A lot of people just like indie movies better because there's not some cigar smoking executive up at the top saying, it needs to have boobs in it or whatever, and that's how we get movies that placate to the lowest common denominator. And it's like, people in general audiences, even, I'm not just talking about art snobs, but people are smarter than these execs think they are, and so they can digest movies and things that are more complicated and subtle than your run of the mill like Hollywood movie. It's just a bummer.
Yeah,
but that's why people like indies. That's why there's so many people who like them, because there are a lot of people that can get into that stuff.
The only thing a lot of the indie fans don't like is the fact that you guys are getting distributed, which is great. You're going like right into stores and everything. So, but the thing they don't like is the price point on a lot of them. It's good, but then you're paying, you don't mind paying like $10 for an indie book, because a lot of times, it's that short print run that, all the low attention spans, run through. Goes, well, it's a pretty cover and it's a short print run and it's a lot of money, so it must be worth a lot of money. And I'm like, I'm gonna do a show in the future where all I do is bitch about stuff. So I do that now, but not as much. But if you're paying like, you know, $15 for like a 48-page book, but you know, it's in India, you know, they're not making a lot of them, and you know, except for printing, that, you know, all the money's going to support a creator that's trying to make it in the business.
Yeah.
And
it's really hard to do it all by yourself. Like, geez, making money, producing your own content. You've got to be going to conventions and just be crazy all over social media to do it all by yourself. Like, this is why it's good to have some partners and people that you're working with. Like, that's the only way that I've been able to succeed doing this, as far as I have. And I'm not making a majority of my money from comic books. It's from commissions and stuff like that. You know, people who like my art and say, hey, do you want to do some work for my comic book? Like, that's where you can make some money, is working for other people. But if you're just trying to sell your own properties, like, you've got to be on it full time plus. And it's doing a lot of stuff that's not fun. That's part of why I don't want to do it. Is, you know, you have people who are good at like marketing and social media and stuff like that work with you and split the profits with. And that's a good way to do it.
It's so much work. I get tired. Too much work. I just get tired thinking about it.
Me too. Oh my God. I hate going to conventions and being on social media and stuff like that. But like, you know, I do some of that because you have to be visible. But it's just like, it's a drag sometimes, because on top of all that, obviously, you still have to get back down and conserve your energy for making good creative work, which, you know, is also hard. It's the most enjoyable part of the whole thing, but it's difficult, as any creator would know. So, you know.
Well, you've got a double-edged sword because you're the artist of the book. So, you know, at a con, they're going to want you to sign the book.
That's right. Yes. No, I will have to make appearances once they start up. Make no mistake. I won't be skipping those. But as we were talking about before the show, when the hell is that going to be?
Yeah, 3-5 years, something like that. I don't know. Well, there's one going on this weekend. There's been a couple by me. I'm up in the Northeast. There was a small one in New Hampshire, in southern New Hampshire last week. There's one coming up in Jersey. I think either this weekend or next weekend.
Wow. I'm impressed.
And
they're like making it happen over there.
They're announcing, and I'm like, sure it is. I go, you know, the day before, you know, it's in Jersey. I saw all the draconians. I have friends that live in Jersey, and I have family that used to live in Jersey, and all the draconian measures they were doing, like, you know, throwing a couple of guys in prison for opening up their gym.
Yeah. That's a blast. Thanks,
and I'm
New
like,
Jersey.
I go, they're keeping people like 12 feet away from each other. They've got more sanitation than a hospital, and you know, you're going to throw them in jail because, you know, they said no, I'm not going to lose my entire life.
Yeah, this whole thing has been totally insane.
Yeah. So, you know, I have to expect the governor up there to what do you mean they're having a gathering and it's not a peaceful protest, and send the state police in and shut that thing down now. I'm like, you know, so
you won't have that problem in New Hampshire though.
No.
I hear there's a lot of libertarians over there.
Oh yeah, like Vermont and New Hampshire. You know, it's like, and everything's like, you know, you get close to the cities up there, but you know, come on, it's New Hampshire. It's not like a real city. Sorry, Vince. And but you know, they had it. I got a lot of friends that are cosplayers, and you know, a bunch of friends that are like, you know, like you, illustrators. Buddy of mine, Mike, he's hurting because his entire life revolves around doing about 45 conventions a year.
Jeez, man,
that's how he pays the bills and child support and, you know, everything else.
That's harsh.
He does really well. You know, he's a very talented dude and a super nice guy, and you know, So he's just, trying to do commissions from home, and he came on one of the podcasts, and before we knew it, it was like 3 hours. I'm like, what the? Okay, dude, I don't know about you, but I'm hungry. He goes, yeah, I'm hungry too. I go, well, it's because it's like 7 o'clock now. Let's go. But
Nice.
so how did you guys all get hooked up together?
It was total chance. So I was working with a dude named Mike Schneider, and he was doing, I had done a steampunk anthology thing for him where I submitted like an 8-page story, and he was like, oh, we're doing this other thing. And it was called Octal. And it was it had to be an 8-page story about nothing in particular. I don't think there was a theme or anything like that. And I did this short little like crime action thing called Scene 6. And it was like a little preview to this bigger idea that I had in mind. And Kevin picked it up, and he really liked it. He was just kind of perusing it to see who was out there. And he got in touch with me personally and was like, hey, I like what you're doing. Let's work together. And then we started a publishing company called Rats and Crows. And we learned a lot and spent a bunch of money and didn't make any of it back. So yeah, it was, I like to say that it didn't go particularly well, but the experience is something that I wouldn't give back, because we got a really good insight into how all that stuff works and learned a lot of what not to do. So now we're going in as an imprint, which I think is a much safer bet. And we're working with, Behemoth already has a lot of infrastructure in place. So we're able to kind of jump on with that and, kind of run our own studio underneath them. So that's really cool. And a lot of what the ways that we've been hooking this stuff up is just Kevin going out there and talking to people, and me sitting out and making artwork and him showing it around. And that's kind of our thing. Like, if you want the short and sweet version, that's it.
Yeah, it's just, it's one of those sad but true moments where, you gotta take your lumps to learn it, unless you get like really lucky in this business and, just, fall in with the right group of people. Like, you doing what? Are you crazy? No, Don't do it that way. Do it this way.
Yeah.
Well,
and also you just have to get lucky. Like, you have to be in the right place at the right time.
Oh yeah.
Be prepared when opportunity comes along, and just have your shit together. I mean, that's you try to do that as much as possible, and that's like, there's no magic bullet to succeeding, and I don't think by any means that I'm at the top of the mountain or anything like that. I'm just tasting success a little bit, and it's great because I'm able to like work from home and everything, which is, I'm very blessed to have the avenues that I do to kind of get income going. Because I've got ways to get people who like my artwork to pay for it. So that's freaking cool. And
yeah,
lucky me.
As much as we all complain about, being locked in our homes this year, it's like, well, it's a perfect time for, creators, because they can just make more and more stuff.
Yeah, it's nice to be able to make more and more stuff. Definitely. And at first people were kind of tight with their wallets, and I get it. Like, no one's trying to make a big project right now because they can't do conventions and stuff like that. But, the digital avenues are opening up in like every way. So it's easier for people in like every industry to make money online. So, and then people are like learning ways to market their stuff in non-physical ways. So, business started kind of getting back together over the summer. So yeah,
you gotta learn how to.
It's been interesting.
You gotta
say the least.
Learn how to do that, like quick, quote unquote, TikTok kind of advertising.
Yeah.
Quick clips or pics up on on Instagram and Twitter, and
get it done in 8 seconds or shut up.
Yeah,
no one's gonna remember it anyways.
Yeah, well, that's what she told me. But
Oh,
but ding ding. So tell us about this graphic novel.
Yeah. So it is a post-apocalypse story or a setting about a cult survivor who grows up in a cult that worships guns, and a god reaches out to him because this god this ethereal being, not a god, wants to be a god. So it reaches out to him and goes like, "You're going to be my Messiah, and you're going to do this crazy stuff." And it sets him off on this wild adventure through the frozen wasteland of the Freak Snow world. And it's both a self-contained story and also kind of an introduction to the world and how weird things get out there. So that's basically what it boils down to.
And your writer ditched us tonight and like, hey, I got an idea. I'm going to tag out and I'm just going to stick the artist in there.
Yeah, I'm that's kind of his style. He's a busy guy. I don't know what he's doing half the time, but he's out there shaking hands and making deals happen. So I don't know what the hell he's doing.
Now, did you work with him on all the like any of the character creation?
Yeah. So what I like to do when I work with a writer, or now as an artist writer, I like to do sort of a cooperative thing where, if I get a little input on the story, I want him to also have input on the character design. It's important for it to do that so that everything is cohesive. And so, yeah, he had a lot of input on how the characters look, whether it's just, yeah, I do like that, I don't like that, or he'll see a design I did and say, hey, let's make that guy this character, that, or switch things around, or give me little tips on how I could change things to make it better, or stuff I could kind of base it off of. So yeah, both very involved in both processes, or both sides of the production process.
So it went seemingly well.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of people seem to agree with that. So yeah, yeah, I think it went well. Also, considering the fact that we were working with two other artists too, everything kind of fell together in a way that happened to be pretty awesome.
It was you and another artist and Kevin writing.
Yep. Yeah, Kevin wrote it and came up with the story stuff, and I kind of improvised a lot of the dialogue. English is a second language, so there's some localization that goes on, and so I had a hand in kind of making stuff sound more natural. But even with that, there was some stuff where he was like, "No, man, I want it this way." So I'm like, "All right, hey, we'll just leave it this way, and it'll be a little different." So that's cool. And the other artist too, I was also kind of running interference and kind of helping out in between both of them to figure out what compositions would work, and what we could do to kind of make everything, to make it look like it is part of the book, and while at the same time having a completely unique style.
And you hadn't worked with anybody else that is on this book until this book?
I guess it is the first book between me and Kevin, but it took us so long we've been working on it for a while. So it feels like I've worked on other books with Kevin, but I haven't. So yeah, this was my first time working with anyone on this team.
And because I've only seen the page up on the Previews World catalog, because it's orderable now and it's going to be in 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a January book?
December?
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I just remember when I used to work at the comic shop, everything was like 3 months ahead. So now I guess they've moved it back to 2 months ahead. No, I'm just having a conversation with myself. Don't worry about it. So I haven't seen any of the interiors. So,
really? Okay.
How happy are you with the finished project?
I'm thrilled with it. It's awesome.
Good. That's the correct answer.
Yeah. I'm trying to sell this thing here. And,
I know. I'm trying. I'm trying not to make it difficult, but I've seen a JPEG of the cover, and that's it.
Yeah, would have assumed that you would have gotten a reviewer copy, but yeah, it's unique, and the main thing that I'm hearing from people is that it's like nothing they've ever seen before, which to me is like the greatest. That's kind of what I go for. My approach to doing artwork is not to be the closest to what you'd consider a classical, great artwork. I want to do something that's unique and what people haven't seen before, which is, seems to be what I've achieved here. So, that I call that one mission accomplished.
And how was the colorist?
I was the colorist.
Oh, you were the colorist too?
Yeah, so the second artist we were working with was actually, he did all his own line work and coloring for like for the God world, or like the spirit world of the book, and I did everything that took place in like the human world, or in the Freak Snow universe. And there was also a third artist who did one page that was pretty interesting, that takes place in like another dimension, like a separate reality.
Oh, so that's cool. So like every world has a completely different look because it's a completely different artist doing it.
Yeah, that's right. That's how it breaks down.
So that is different.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Now, so this book comes out. Do you know the shelf date on it?
I don't know the shelf date exactly, but it must be early December. We got this thing out to the previews in, I think, the end of September. No, it was August 1st was when I submitted the final draft. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's got to be early December.
Yeah, so it's probably like a second week release.
I have to guess. Yeah.
Yeah, let's take a look. So yeah, it would probably be hitting either the 9th or the 16th.
That doesn't look good. What's going on? What happened? Well, if I'm still broadcasting, I'm not seeing any movement on the other side. So I'm not sure what's going on here. Oh boy.
Well, I'm back, but nobody else is. There we go.
There we are.
There we are.
That was exciting.
Yeah, I'm obviously on my phone, but you know, this way I can freak everybody out while I drive around in my wheelchair.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I like the
Oh,
change in
yeah.
lighting. That's interesting.
Yeah,
All right.
I can do laps and stuff. Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
apparently my my internet went out because you know Comcast likes doing that at the worst times.
Yes, yes.
Where
I've had
they-
Comcast. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Where you know the only good thing for Comcast is because I have a child under the age of 18,
Hmm.
and because I'm disabled, I get internet for $10 a month.
That's great. That's really good. Wow.
On the other hand, the area that I live in, because so many people are stealing everything,
Hmm.
specifically cable and everything, so they're sending, like, you know, they send a bullet through the IP line, and they, you know, reset everybody's router at random.
Ah, what a blast. Do they give you the new password or what? Do they help you out with that at all?
I don't need a new password. What it is they send a bullet through, and as long as it's a registered IP with them,
Mm-hmm.
there's no problem. But if it's not, it kind of like it shut. You know, even if you have it, it'll shut the connection down. So,
Ah, jeez. That sounds like a hassle.
yeah, it is. Oh, yeah, that's better. So, where were we?
I don't remember. You were looking up the release date or something like that, which yeah. I could have also done, but I was working on something.
Yeah, I couldn't find the release date. Just the diamond code, which is actually in the show notes, either up above or down below, depending on where you're watching us. Along with all of your information to look at your portfolio and all your interwebs contacts.
On my interwebs. Yeah, I try to be active on Instagram. That's the main one, because when I post to Instagram, it goes everywhere else. So I try to put everything there. But if you just want to see my artwork, go to rcannon.design. You can head to my website and check everything out that I have posted publicly.
And how are you doing commissions now, or are you, because you're in the middle of this book release?
Yeah, I do take on some extra work. I mean, this is how I pay my bills. So when I do a lot of stuff on Fiverr, there's a surprising amount of like good clients on there, people who are return. And I've worked on a couple of card games in the past few years, and still working on a couple of those. None of it I can talk about, unfortunately, because I signed NDAs, but it's all pretty cool stuff. And yeah, people.
Things.
I know it's a pain, but I understand people are cagey and how, you know, they don't want anyone to steal their ideas and all that stuff. So it's not a big deal to me. But yeah, or people just get in touch with me on Facebook or shoot me an email. I am very available, you know, if anyone is interested in doing anything like that. So
now, you started talking about an idea you guys had for a floppy series for next year too.
yeah, the first 2 issues are done, so it's definitely going to happen. I'm not sure how much I can give you the basic gist of it, but I will stay away from giving away any spoilers or anything like that, or deep plot points.
Go right ahead.
Okay. So it takes place in the same universe as the one that I drew with Kralex, who is the kid that the god is guiding, and it's going to take place in that world. And it's post-apocalyptic in the snow. There's been a glacier or a blizzard that's lasted for decades. It's now the whole world is frozen. And the idea behind the name of Freak Snow is that the snow is a freak snow. It's a freak event that happened, and also the only people that can survive it are freaks. So it's kind of a fun little double entendre. And so there are going to be small arcs in the series, and each one's going to follow a different freak. And so the first one's name is Bernie, and he's like this middle-aged guy who's had his wife and daughter killed, and he's trying to figure out if his memory is of them being eaten by like a big crocodilian monster called a Smarg is correct, or if he actually murdered them. And so it's basically his arc is about finding out the truth of what happened there. And then after his arc is done, we're going to move on to a different character, and they'll have a story, and it'll kind of be this continuous, like each arc has a link at the front and back of it, connecting it to other stories, and we'll kind of explore the world that way. And so it's been a lot of fun so far. Like I said, I've got 2 issues done, and so it's going to be pretty cool. It's very different from the graphic novel too, in tone. It's a little more comical,
and it's a good way to explore a shared universe that you guys are creating too.
Absolutely, that's kind of the idea. It's almost like we're sending the reader on a journey through the world. They're going on the adventure and kind of experiencing all the different places and the way things work. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, are you guys just soliciting it the way you did Freak Snow, or are you looking to go Kickstarter route?
We'd have to talk to Kevin for that one. He's business strategy #1 guy. Anything I say right now is probably subject to change, but so far we're going to go about it pretty much the same way we've done the graphic novel.
Well, that's good. You've already got those avenues open to you because you're
right. We want to avoid Kickstarter when we can, but Kevin likes it because it is a good marketing tool. So if we may or may not, it's hard to say at this point. But we'll be submitting issue 1 to distributors soonish. So probably not that one, but maybe future issues or like an omnibus of the first arc or something. We're still working all this stuff out. So, but
yeah, because my take on it from what little you've been able to say about it is it sounds like it would make like a great anthology omnibus
it will eventually. Yes, definitely. And we're also looking into selling or to releasing tomes of the arcs as they're tending. We're thinking they're going to be 4 to 6 issues each. So, releasing books of each of those would be good. And then a big book, for season 1 or however we want to split it up. So we've got a lot of options for that stuff. If it's successful, we have a ton of things that we can do to, spice it up a little bit and give people the collection stuff that they would like.
Oh, yeah. It's open to just about anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's a big thing that we're trying to expand into as many different types of merchandising as we can. And so, but also taking it one step at a time so we don't overload ourselves. That's definitely a risk that we want to avoid.
Oh yeah, that's something that Scout does a lot. Is basically for every title they create like a huge line of merch. So like, every PR for something I get, if I scroll down to the very bottom, I'm seeing like, whatever book it might be. Mm-hmm. Seeing coffee cups, T-shirts, hats, hoodies, cooking aprons, cutting boards, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like they went to the Gene Simmons School of Marketing. It's like, put your brand on anything. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. You want people to be able to get whatever they go, oh, I'd like that as a mouse pad. You want to be able to provide anything.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Those are big too. Cause you also have all these companies, like Teespring and Bonfire and, many more that are all like, print on demand. They'll make anything you want.
Right. At a hiked up rate, but yeah, they they do that.
If your fan base is willing to pay for it,
Yeah.
Better
give it to them.
Yeah, there's ways you can go about it, and running polls for what people would like, would be interested in for merch for Freak Snow, and just toss it up on IG and let people vote on it. And if you get my favorite is always coffee cups. So
love a good coffee cup.
So if there's a nice big giant Freak Snow coffee cup, let me know, because I'll be in line for one of those.
I will. I'll let you know. I know the exact design I will put on it too. It's good to have that stuff in mind.
Now, what are some of the books that you were less successful with?
Oh, there was Sane 6, my completely self-produced crime drama. That was something we did with Rats and Crows. It was our first release, and we funded the print run ourselves. We had a Kickstarter, but it wasn't enough to cover the whole thing, so we fronted a lot of the cash there. I think it was more than half, and we sold some copies, but just didn't have the distribution power. We weren't able to get into Diamond. But we learned a lot while making it. And like I said, I produced the whole thing myself. So that in itself was like a huge accomplishment for me. And I think it was 68 pages or something like that. Most of it story pages. So, wow, it was an impressive feat that we even got that thing to print. I'm still really proud of it. And, the other one was Harlem Martyr. That was my very first serious attempt at making a graphic novel, and I just had no idea what I was doing. But I did the artwork, so there's that. We didn't even get that one printed. I think I made a couple of on-demand things. So those are the main books I can think of that I've had part in. There have been a few other things here and there, but those are the main ones. All pretty big projects, so very time-consuming. But this one, we've taken a lot of time to really polish it and make sure it's worth being our first launch, our first big release, and I think that we've achieved that. So I feel good.
Yeah, I know Kevin's been writing for quite a while, but this is basically the third book you've worked on.
Yeah.
And that early in basically your comic book career, and you've already got a book listed for Solis in previews. So
yeah, I'm proud of it. It's no small feat that we've done this, and I definitely could not have done it alone. That's for sure. Kevin's been huge in getting our connections and working behind the scenes. And coming up with ideas too. So yeah, it definitely was not a solo mission. That's for sure. I just don't. It's very important to me that no one forgets that.
Oh yeah, it was a team effort for sure.
Absolutely.
That's the best way, because that way, if instead of just being like, I'm writing everything, don't tell me nothing, just draw.
Yeah.
Doesn't work, because you need to be able to bounce ideas back and forth off of each other, and
as my musicians friends say, when you're sitting down with your bandmates, don't write the song that's in your head, write the song that's in the room. And that's how you get something that gels, is when everyone's kind of working towards the same goal, instead of trying to get their idea made. You kind of leave everything flexible and malleable so you can make the best product, not your product.
Oh, most definitely. It's the best way to do it. The whole group mentality works very well with songwriting and story writing.
For sure.
Because with both of them, you're telling a story.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Unless it's a country song, and then it's just a story about you losing all your stuff.
Or working really hard. That seems to be another.
Working really hard and losing all your stuff.
Yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, it's all gone.
Unless you get it on vinyl, but then you can play it backwards and you can get all your stuff back.
That's the true happy story, is the reverse country record. And that's what we would like for this book, is for it to be the reverse country record of graphic novels. That's my goal. So hopefully we've achieved that.
Hopefully. Now I know that there's another platform that just started out there. And it's basically for the indie creator, because, it's either a lot of people either go through Indiegogo or Kickstarter to get their book launched. And then they complain when, people like, Scott Snyder or Keanu Reeves or somebody shows up on, Kickstarter. They shouldn't be here. They're taking money out of our pocket. I'm like, dude, that's Keanu Reeves. If, if he showed up, in a mud bath, people would still be willing to buy the mud that was in the bath.
That's true. Yeah.
They don't care what he's doing, where it's going. You have to build a following.
Well, and that's the thing about a free market too. Everyone has access to it. Even the people who don't really need the resources, they can still come in and drink from the water hole.
Yeah, well,
it's a beautiful thing.
Like, Snyder and Capullo and all these, handfuls of these other guys that are doing some of the crowdfunding thing now. It's because they've got a story that they want to tell, but the publishers that they're working with aren't going to let them tell it, so they're just going to do it on their own.
Right.
And the easiest way to do that, especially because, Snyder and Daniel have like a huge following, so they're just like, let's go on crowdfunding and see how many millions we'll get in a week. Because I've seen not new people to the indie industry, the indie side of it, but they've got like a few books under their belts already. Walking away with the closed out campaign, approaching like 50K. Yeah,
it can happen.
And I'm like, I go, that's crazy, because I had interviewed Matt Knowles and his partner Steph, not life partner, just comic book partners, and they just wrote another. They've got a pretty much like a library now. They've got like 7 or 8 books out.
Nice. That's great.
The last week they had already hit like 30K.
Nice.
That's awesome. I'm like, that's phenomenal. And then I scroll a little bit further and I see Ethan Van Schreiber, the new Cyber Frog book just hit 1.5 million. I'm like, oh. I go, but I'm not going to buy it. I'm not going to buy it.
Nature of the beast.
I'm so mad at him. Yeah. But he's got a name and a following, and no matter how many people hate him, he kind of wants people to hate him. So they, if they talk bad about him, they're still talking about him.
Any publicity is good publicity.
That's pretty much the gist of it. But I mean, I just think it's funny that 35 years later, he's gone back to basically his original indie book that he put out back in the 90s.
Yeah, that's crazy.
and there's been more than one person that, that's done that, that have, they've gone and worked, in the pros for, a number of years, and, they had enough. They didn't like the way it was going. They didn't want to go the route that the corporation wanted them to go. So like, no worries. We're just going to part ways. I'm going to clear up my desk and I'm going to take off. And they just, they go, what can I do? Everybody, I'm popular. So everybody knows that I did this back in like 97. So I'm just going to continue writing that story.
Nice. Yeah. Whatever works, man.
Yeah. Dynamite did the same thing because of the, this year was Vampirella's 50th anniversary. So they relaunched the Vengeance of Vampirella that only went 25 issues, and they put it back to the original team that was on that book when they ceased publication, and they just picked up the story from where they left off.
There you go. That's awesome. That's almost like a creator's dream right there, to be able to finish what you started.
Yeah, it's like, well, yeah, I did that book 25 years ago. I wonder what I could do with it today. And then the phone rings.
Yeah.
How'd you like to finish that Vampirella run? Really? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I've got dreams like that about some of the stuff that I've started and not finished. But for now, we got business to take care of. You know what I'm saying? So
you got Snowflake and this whole world that you guys are launching off that's going to be on store shelves on the 12th. The other platform I was talking about that's purely a comic platform just came out, so it's still very much in beta. But it's called indiecrowdfund.com. And you can do a campaign on there, or you can just, list your finished book on there. And the whole gist of their platform is they want to get indie books into comic stores.
Nice.
So instead of, somebody having to charge, $10 or $15 for their book and then have to charge like another $10.99, $12 to ship it.
Yeah, that's rough.
They can just ship a box. They can sell the books at a discount to the store. They can, get the box packed and shipped off to the store, and then you can just go pick them up at your local shop, or if it's an online store that you buy books at anyhow, you can just buy indie books there. And they've when they launched, they had like 35 stores already signed up.
That's pretty cool. That's really cool. So they're almost like an indie distributor.
It's more of a portal, so that shops that do really well with indie books, they can go through and take a peek at all the various campaigns that are up, and if they see something that they think the story synopsis sounds interesting and the book looks good, they can contact the creators and do a deal with the creators without gatekeepers getting involved, and it's just, okay, we'd be interested in having your book.
Nice.
What can we do?
Great.
And then you offer them a deal, and if they take it, like one of the biggest stores that's been doing this with them is the Collector in South Florida. They do a tremendous business of indie.
Nice.
I talked to not the owner, but one of the guys that works there, and the store does its own podcast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because everybody does a podcast now. Look at me.
Yes, everyone does do a podcast.
Yeah, because it's 2020. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah,
So,
good point. What the hell else is there to do? Mow your lawn or?
It's like, oh God, I'm so bored. I can't leave the house. What am I gonna do? Oh, a
Play
webcam.
marbles. Yeah, there you go. A microphone.
Mm-hmm.
A voice. An
I get
opinion.
that. I was a nightclub DJ for 35 years, so
Nice. That's great.
I
That
miss
must have been fun.
It was. I loved it, but it is. It is what it is. But I'm having a lot of fun doing this because my dream is to basically go to conventions and hang out at Artist Alley and talk to people about their work.
There you go. This is just about the next best thing. So there you go.
Well, you avoid the lines to get in, the lines to get in the bathroom, the lines to get out, the $7 6-ounce bottles of Coca-Cola. Con crud, no con crud.
No con crud. Yeah, that's something that people usually overlook.
It's like nothing good's happened this year. I go, yeah, I haven't had to deal with con crud. They're like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I go.
Always remember the bad times. That helps.
We also haven't had to deal with the thousands of teenage boys walking through a convention hall door that haven't showered in 3 weeks that think the little spritz of Axe does the trick.
It truly doesn't.
No. And so there's that.
There is that. It's always good to remember the things that you don't miss.
Yeah. I don't miss that at all. But I got to cover, because I'm in Massachusetts, in Southern Mass, not far from Rhode Island. So I covered the Rhode Island Comic-Con last year, and got to go in early, and I got to hang out for a good 45 minutes talking to Neil Adams, and then Graham Nolan and Bill McKay and Joe St. Pierre, Tom Mandrake, Mike Grell, Christopher Priest. Okay, I'm done dropping names.
Okay.
But I had plus I talked to a whole bunch of indie guys. I talked to a lot of the guys I talked to like a couple of the guys from Source Point Press, Bob Staley, who does
Gargoyle. I know Bob. Yeah, I accidentally sent Bob a coffee mug a couple of months ago.
You accidentally sent him a coffee mug?
Yeah. So what it was is, back with Rats and Crows, we used Vistaprint to send him like some flyers or stickers, or I don't remember exactly what the product was. So his address was the default for my Vistaprint account, and I went to produce a coffee mug for myself with a drawing.
Whoops. Uh-oh. Good Lord. Mhm. Sorry, folks, we're having a lot of internet issues this evening. This is just crazy. And we're back again. Like my big windows. So I'm going to try to get him back in. I think it's my internet keeps crapping out tonight, so I'm not sure why. But maybe it was his internet. I cannot tell. So I do apologize to everybody because this should not be happening. Oh. And it won't let me back in. Well, I apologize. We're having a lot of technical difficulties this evening. I'll try to give it a couple more minutes to see if Mr. Cannon can get back in. If Rob can't get back in, we will, I guess, have to end the broadcast because my internet is really not working. And it's just, you know, bad. I do apologize. We were about to hear a funny coffee mug story, but we'll have to get that another time. Once again, I'm sorry for the technical difficulties tonight. Damn you, Comcast.